grade, and then kind of education is an exception, right? They don't see the kind of organization, and then I know institution, one of the institutions, but still it's a really special institution. But if you see the kind of special institution is a lot of respect to teachers, and then we follow the teachers' method, but there is depends on teachers and ability and teachers' quality, and the education really influential on students, right? But if you see the school as a kind of organization, then what is organization? And organization is a little bit different, right? And what is the purpose of organizations? There's a specific goal is there, and then we gotta achieve the goal, right? As an organization, that's why people kind of organize and then made some groups, and then they pursued their goal, and then there's a different goal, right? And so we're gonna see the school as organization. So what is the organization system, and what we need, and what we need to know to understand the school as an organization. Basically, we're gonna know what is the organization, what is organizations, right? And before we go to the part, and then our book, kind of a textbook, kind of shows that there is a two-way that thinking in two ways. And the first one is aggregated thinking, and another one is a system thinking. And what is aggregate thinking? And there is sometimes maybe analytic thinking and system thinking. It's almost similar, but word is different. But according to our textbook, and aggregate thinking is defined as practice, whether was codified into as a mathematical formula or through the simple everyday observation of simply grouping and making assumption about individual human being, but derived from analysis of many, right? Analysis of many. So obviously to predict some future outcome and level of risk or value. There's an aggregated thinking, and then they kind of analyze the functions of how they're gonna do, and then what are we expecting. But there is kind of grouping together, right? Just think about where is the circle is here, and then a lot of component is there, and there's a plus sign is there, and minus sign is there, and multiplication sign is there, and division sign is there, and there's a number is there. Number is an even number and odd numbers, and in the circles, right? Each group is there, right? And why we need a plus sign? Why we need a minus sign? Why we need why there is why we need kind of signs? There's a group is in there. There's a function is there. That is a kind of aggregative thinking, right? Okay, we grouping, and then there's a mathematics, and there's numbers, and there's a science, and right, different numbers. There's a group is there, but it doesn't work together. That you usually really focus on functions, right? That analytic thinking is knowledge and thinking of how things works. Each group has not connected, but knows each group as it works, and then predict what is the future outcomes if you function like this. That's analytic thinking and aggregative thinking. So things are put together without activity or integration or interdependency, right? That's the aggregating king. And so here is some example of aggregative and analytic thinking is there. And here's the example of engines, car engine, any kind of engine is there. Just think about, here is the engine is middle, and then they analyze and take the engine apart, each part. That is this is like this, and can you see the pictures? And then they apart, and that's analytic thinking and aggregate thinking. And so identify each one, the belt is there, and all kind of stuff, the piston is there, and then identify the property and the behavior of part is taken separately. We know these functions. What is for? Like this. And then aggregate understanding of the part into understanding of whole. So, okay, aggregate thinking is analytic thinking, So each part is put together, and then we thinking about the engine. Right, that's analytic thinking. And here is system thinking is a little different. System thinking is that thinking about the roles and functions in the relationship between part and whole. And there is a whole is there. Also, each part is there, and then think about how it works. So without the whole part, they will think about the part put together. But analytic thinking and then aggregate thinking is what? Aggregate thinking is what? They always part, and then think about what? Whole. It's different. There is no relationship. And so here is, and can you see that the engine and then engine part is different? Each part is different, but what? Think about the car, how it's moving. Not just the engine. And then, so understanding is a knowledge, but this is a system thinking, is understanding why things work the way they do. That is the kind of system thinking, right? They understanding and why. But aggregated thinking or analytic thinking is what? Knowledge about how. It's a little bit different. So what is the system thinking is what? You see the inside, and then things how work that they do, take you in the outside system and explain why it works the way it does. Okay? How it works. It's not just knowledge. And so it's not an analysis, analysis can divide each part and put together. Synthesis, so what is the engine or part of it? So they think the whole first, and then explain each part. It's a different, right? Opposite way. And that one is maybe, so understanding behavior of the whole, it's not a kind of separate as each part and explain, not that one, right? Each part, they think the whole thing, engine. The whole engine, and it works. But engine is divided by each section is kind of how they know how to work together. That is so our book textbook said that we need to have a system thinking for school. It's not a analytic or aggregate thinking for schools. If you go to school, then we can see a lot of different components. We know what is functions, what is the roles and how what they doing, but they separate each functions and then maybe they're gonna come out something. But if you have some systematic thinking, system thinking, and then each role school is here and then what? Different role in how communicate each other and work together to make a better outcome. That is system thinking. So little bit different. Maybe this one is inductive thinking. Maybe each part and know and then try to think about engine. But this one is systematic thinking is maybe deductive and then whole is the engine is there and then trying to explain the detailed things of how it works with the whole. And what is a system? Maybe sometimes it's hard to explain, and system is like maybe we can think about school system is like there is a school is here, and district is here, kind of student state is here. There is a school system, right? And if with the analytic thinking is school is here and district here and state here. If you put separate and this is an educational system in country and then it's hard to put together. But system thinking is you put the whole education as a whole, right? And we know what is work, how we're working, why school is needed, why district is there, why is and states there, and then how the education works. So maybe system like that, and then in schools, and there's principals and vice principals and teachers, and then maybe board and like a different structure. That is a kind of system to run school. But they are separate each one. This is part of school that we're working, but we are going to be independent from that structure system, but it doesn't work effectively. That is in education. That is we not pursuing the kind of thinking, but okay, there is a board school and teachers association is here and student association is here and district is here and administration is here and some programs here, and how you put the whole, and there is a kind of education, the goal of education is here and vision is here. How can you work together as a whole, right? Communicate each other. And generally, when you think about system, there is a kind of benefits here. So, system gives you a synergy effect. What is a synergy? Synergy is kind of it's a process equivalent to the kind of structural holism, and something is synergy is back, and then if something is put together and gives you work together and gives you something. That's a synergy effect. So each system is there in the whole. If you see the whole as a whole, like education, each school is here, district is and state is here, and then but if you put together and communicate together well and work together well, and then what? If you do just independently, like okay, I'm a principal in school, and then I try to do something, not much. Interacted with the district, and I'm gonna make a better school. That is a aggregate and thinking, analytic thinking. But still, if you put together, let's see how it works for the education, and then the synergy effect. Whole, see the whole. And what about the functionalism? And there is a functionalism or systematic activity, and still, and if we see the school, and there is a structures here and some process we need to process, and some is each function is right. There is a if you use the one system is there, and then we can see the structures and process and functions, and then what? Not stop there. There's a continuum is there, and then works. That is it means the functionalism means that here and not just a static process is kind of there, but it's a dynamic process. Depends on the situation and depends on the relationship between the components, right? There's a function, that is another characteristic, and then what about leading part? Whole system, why they need each part, and lead the part and put together and make a synergy effect. That's why leading part. What about homeostasis? Homeostasis is a kind of is a tendency toward a relatively stable equilibrium, and then there is kind of our bodies like try to make a balance, equilibrium, right? And so our bodies can maintain and balanced and healthy. That's a homeostasis, and it's like a system. It's like try to get a balance. If something is going up, and then seesaw, and then make a balance, and functions very well. And then sometimes this is really dysfunctional a little bit, and then what? Try to recover with others, make up with others, and support with others, right? Try to get a balance to stay healthy. And what about isomorphism? Isomorphism is like there's a different origin, but working together make it similar, right? And there's a similarity. That's why so even though they are different origin, but coming out, working and making similar things in organisms. So there is it's from the evolution process, but still think about, and system is like different parts there, but as a whole working together. That's why we said the similarity and working together, and we make something together. That's one of the effect. Really interesting, right? Maybe if you think about computer system, and then maybe it's easier. There's a hardware, so the software is there, how they work together to make the outcomes. And what if something don't work? Sometimes it's damage a whole, right? But sometimes, and maybe it doesn't work, still going on, right? And one of the apps doesn't work, and you can remove and then replace it with the other one, and then support with the computer. The system is supporting the apps. I know sometimes the hardware is broken, the whole computer is shut down. But I know that's the important thing is, what's the most important thing is in organization, in system thinking, we gotta know which one is really important later. But still, if we think about the system, is that there is a lot of characters there, and then sometimes there is in the system there is a differences there and specializations there, right? And everything is not the same though. And each system has a different from other, and there's more specifications there. There's a system. And if you work at school, just think about there's a lot of different things, and if you see there's a system, and then teachers association is different from what? Well, the parent association, PTA, yeah, parent association and student association, but totally different. But there is a specific role is there, specification is there, right? That is in a system. But there is no system and then put together and then it's nothing. Not nothing, but still maybe, I don't know how effectively we can carry out the basic purpose of each associations. And there is mechanism is there, it's a kind of progressive mechanism, and then what it means that there is progress mechanism, and then they can develop more and more, and then inclusive, and then integrate and getting complex. And sometimes it's more complex and kind of itself, and then going, and there's autonomy there. Right? And sometimes there's an inclusion, but separation is there, segregation is there, and there is a subdivision of the system part, and recognizable and separate the system. There is a segregation. So there is we think about which one is system is inclusion is there, and segregation is there, and then which one is effective. But even though there is a inclusion, but there is a subdivision and separated, and then we gotta know that in terms of progress and how can we work together. There's one of the characteristics of your system, and when you see the schools, and then there's a decision maker processes there, and then maybe how can you process, right? And if you which kind of direction maybe for the follow for the making decision, and then we gotta work on it from the each work, not the subdivision, but still we gotta work. Maybe there is a subdivision for the evaluations, and then start, and there's a research groups there, and communicate together, and then we have another thing is a new idea about better programs, and then going to discuss all to prepare, and then make a decision. Try to see the whole as a process. And there is a specific goals. What is the goals? There is supposed to be outcomes there. And how can we adopt, and how can we work together? We gotta know that one. Right? And sometimes the word is kind of, I don't know, you guys heard already, he said it, negative entropy, and it's a kind of reverse of entropy. So this means something becoming more in order. Entropy is kind of making chaotic, but neo-entropic in the reverse, and getting put together in order and work very well. Makes sense, right? If you have a system, it's not going to be chaotic, and if we have some problem, it's easy to deal with the problem and solve the problems. And think about it, and one of the examples is here, and parents really demanding, and think about parents really demanding, and what happened. and teachers kind of evaluate, and then as the board or district and kind of administrators and review the whole process. Seems like it's demanding a lot and make a problem, but still try to you follow in order, and then you can solve the problem easily, right? It's not making chaotic because if the system is there. And there is even though it's a system and there is a closed system and open system. And what is a closed system? And closed system are the internal subunit of the organization that do not interact with the external environment. Stay inside. It's really closed. Maybe there is a teachers association in school, but they don't talk to the parents, they don't talk to principals, and maybe they have their own association, and then there's a closed system, right? Sub-unit of organizations. It's a lot of units there, and the open system are the internal sub-unit that interact with the other systems. And maybe like outside, they talk to outside, open to system, and then maybe teachers associations talk to student bodies, and talk to and districts and parents, and then like they open and think about how work together for children's education, student education, right? That is an open system though. And think about which one is much better, and then which one is kind of really useful for the whole system, right? And then we gotta know that there is and closed system is here and open system, they are sub-unit in whole systems. And there is a simple system is here, and a complex system is here. And what is a simple system? Simple system is like a homogeneous. It's identical and really kind of indistinguishable structure elements, and that seems like the same. And maybe, but a complex system is like heterogeneous, and then large number of the structure variations, different structures are there. Maybe think about in association is like this, and teachers association is there, that's all. But if you at schools, right, and maybe it's a big one, but there is science teachers association, and humanity teachers association, and then and maybe English and language and English, and maybe PE, like they work together. Like it's not all homogeneous. That teachers are put together, and they are also one, but there is a specific different variations there. That's a complex systems, right? And that's one of the examples. What about the linears and the relationship with the consonant propositions? Just think about it's a linear and always goes together. But non-linear means that sometimes cause does not produce the proposition effect, and then okay, it's not, this one may be cause and effect, but it's not. It's really very not linear. It's not, right? And variable is really deterministic, and same result always, occurs for the given set of circumstances and predictable, like this. That's a deterministic, but the complex system is the stochastic, meaning the element of the randomness leads to a degree of uncertainty about the outcome. Sometimes it's hard. Large too many systems is there, and we are expecting this outcome, and then maybe there is a kind of synergy effect is there, and then better outcome is there. Unpredictable, uncertainty. That's why people doesn't like it sometimes. Too big and too complicated, and then we are not sure. But think about a system is kind of established, and then it's more effective. But if you don't establish a system, it's hard. And if you run a small business, and it's hard to make the system, or it's an effective system. But if you run a pretty sized companies and without a system, it's hard to run. You gotta run, right? Because it's not a simple though. It's not simple. It's a lot of things to deal with different ways. That's why the complex system is needed. And the simple system is very static. Nothing changes over time and goes and goes and goes, and like a small business, and then. But like this, and the dynamic change over time, and past has an important impact on the future. And dynamic is the kind of give and take, kind of you want to evaluate, maybe change, and put different feedback and try again. But static is we know that this one we gotta teach this one, okay, and goes back a whole year, and then. Not that much changing and go. It's really outdated sometimes. This one is a simple system is like a independent subsystem are not influenced controlled by other part of the system. Just kind of follow the linear the way, but there is a complex system is like interdependent subsystem, connected and woven, not just for acting. You cannot separate. Without this one, and then we cannot run this one. Like the subsystems are all connected together. And simple system is no feedback, just the open chain of cause and effect. Okay, because there's no way, but there is a lot of dynamics. Feedback is go back and correct, and then do again is a causal chain of causal connections. So always not like predictable though, right? And just think about a simple system and complex system. Sometimes complex system seems like too much, but if it is established, and then give us a lot of benefit, right? So depends on the school size. But if you go to school, elementary school and junior high school, and then think about how the school runs, and there is a sub, right? And there is a sub, and system is there, and then how they put together, right? How they put together. And basically, and then when you run school, and think about, and I know sometimes we have our own way, but sometimes we want to do something different, and then we gotta fix a little bit complicated, and people don't like it because they don't want to change. And even though we really emphasize system thinking, there's an open thinking system and closed system. There's a simple system, systems, and there's a complex system. But the outcome may be much different. Depends on what kind of system you guys are thinking about, right? And when we think about school as an organization, and then think about your schools, and then think about and whole picture of education, and then how can we make the system effective, right? That is system thinking, system thinking. Here is, I got this information from Jason Golden. He's business manager, and then he put a lot of information on the website, and then he said he posts up the component of the organizational system, and then what component needs for the organization. It means that the reason that I got this information, and then we want to think about school as an organization, right? And then think about what is the component of organization, then we got to know what we need at schools, right? And there's input is there. Organizations are always input is there. And then maybe there's a raw material and human resources and capital and information and technology. So all input is out there. And if you think about, just think about schools, what is the input? It's not education, it's not just a teacher's work. And classroom, go teacher's classroom and then just teach. That's not all about it. Right? So you can get input from the parent, student, and teachers, even though teachers plays a main role in education, and then staff, right? And communities. We gotta think about inputs. And what about the processes? There's a process. There's a much, the input is here, and then we need to process this input to make outcome, right? He called the transformational process as employee work activities and management activities and operation method, and then how can you process all this input to make outcome? That is the process we need. And what about outputs? And then, products. We input this one, and then maybe we want to make something, and what is the process? And then, this is a water bottle, right? And then what is the output? What's the input? And material is here, right? How can we purchase? How can we get it? Like this. And then process and outcome is water bottle like this. And outcome is product is coming out, maybe financial result, and right? And the information and the human result. People are getting better and satisfied, and different aspect of outcome. And then maybe scores, and then also achievement is increased, right? Achievement is increased. And standard score is increased. Teachers' benefits is getting better, and their satisfaction is growing much higher, like this. That's a human aspect. And students are really proud of their achievement. Parents are happy, like this. There is a lot of result is there. What is our, so when you set what is our goals, and then we gotta think about what we are expecting at the end of the program. And another point is a feedback. If we want to have what is a complex and what's a system is not a simple system is we don't need, but complex system is like always feedback is there, and then we can work together. And that's why it's not a static, dynamic. And then feedback is the result from the outcome, influence, and input. And just think about and what you input and what we made an outcome, and then we can get a feedback, and then maybe you can get feedback, and when you go back, start again, and then we can put out input differently, right? There's a feedback. Sometimes a little bit negative, sometimes really positive, but it's feedback. We gotta consider it, right? We gotta take it. Another one is the kind of environment. What is the environment? He said that these opponents make up the internal and external factors that affect the system. Right? School environment, school culture, like this, and that is a basic component. Think about, and when you think about organizational system, and we have this kind of system, component, and then input and process and output and feedback and environment. And if we think all the components go, and what we need, input, teachers, teaching and students, what is it, government support, fund, and parental support, and community support, like all things are input for education and process. We gotta work with this, teach students with the special programs and curriculums, and we gotta work. And sometimes the homework with the parents, and that's the process. Maybe school and outside school, open system, right? And what's the output? And what output is like, score is going up, and students are more equipped and skilled, and parents are happy, right? Teachers are really satisfied. So outcomes and feedback, but still there is something to improve, and there is room to improve, and there is something to very well, and then how can we keep it up with encouragement, right? And how can we compensate students, and how can we reward students, how can we compensate teachers, and then how can we encourage parents, like this. And feedback is there, and then we can go back in next school years, and we can reflect our feedback. How's the environment? Is it supportive or discouraging, and for the whole work? And it's a really healthy culture still. No more bullies for students, and work together with the other students, not the comparative, and then how can we make the environment? How can communicate with the parents? How can communicate with each other, other colleague teachers? How can we work together like this? Okay, I will just give you a basic idea about, right? And there's an organization basic component, and what is organization then? We don't know organization, and then we cannot understand the scope in organizational system, right? As an organizational system. So organization is, what is organization? What is organization? Yeah, organization according to the device of Google.com dictionary, it says that organization is an organized body of people with a particular purpose, especially business, society, and association, etc., etc. Organized body of people. But we needed to know the purpose. Purpose is there. That's why people make organization. But if we don't have any purpose, and I don't know, we cannot call the organizations. Right? And here is another what is the definitions. I got there on bank test, and then he introduced some scholars definitions. And Louis Allen, he said, organization is the process of identity and grouping work to be performed, defining and delegating responsibility and authority, and establishing relationship for the purpose of enabling people to work most effectively and together in accomplish objectives. Basically, organization is a process of identifying and grouping work. And they have a specific purposes there, right? We gotta know what kind of work we need, and then how can we group together, and then we gotta work. And there's a Louis Allen, and then what about the Wheeler? And Wheeler said that internal organization is a structural frame of the duty and responsibilities. Internal organization is a structural frame, and then he said it really focus on the duties and the what? Responsibility required of the personnel in performing various functions. And specifically, we wanna achieve something and we gotta do something, right? That's the duty, means that you're gonna have to do something. And responsible, you're gonna take care of your work. Duty is there, but if you don't responsible, then who's gonna do that? You gotta do something, right? And Kuntz and then O'Donnell, he said the establishment of authority relationship with the provision for coordination between them, and vertically, horizontally in the enterprise structure. Kuntz and O'Donnell, he said authority relationship, and there's he emphasized kind of a power of authority, and vertically and horizontally. Vertically means there is a president is there, vice president is there, and director is there, manager is there, and like this. What about vertically? And there's a different group of people is there, and then how can you? There's power, right? And even though some workers, there is what? Who is in charge of this one? Who is in charge of this one? There's maybe we could have leaders in the groups. So really focus on the authority relationship. And then Oliver's showdown is that organization is a process, so combined work with individual provide the best channel for the efficient and systematic and positive and coordinated application of the available effort. So they think about as a combined work. Why? Provide the best channel for the efficient, systematic, positive, and coordinated applications. We are assumed that if you have an organization and that That's why you make an organization. There is a organized people, your group of people. Maybe if you want to be chaotic, you don't have to do that. Maybe doing by yourself is better than organized. We are expecting this one, right? And efficient and systematic and positive and coordinated. And another is spiritual said it's in its broadest sense the organizations or the relationship between the various factors presently given endeavors. And factory organization concerns itself primarily with the internal relationship with the factories, such as the responsibility of personnel and arrangement and group of machines and material control, like this. So relationships between the various factors. It makes sense, right? And George Travis said that organizing is an establishment of effective authority relationship. That is effective. It's not just an authority relationship, it's an effective. So among the selected work, person, and place in order to group to work together efficiently. That's why he put the effective authorities. And maybe that's why we need a different position in organization, right? More responsibility if you are and higher, more power in higher positions, like this. And then CH and Northcott is the arrangement by which tasks are assigned to men and women so that the individual effort contributed effectively to some more or less clearly defined purpose for which they have been brought together. It's really emphasized human factors. And L.H. Henley and what? Henley, he said, organization is a harmonious adjustment for specialized part for the accomplishing some common purpose and purpose. What? Accomplishment of what? Some common purpose or purpose. It really emphasizes the direction of organization and purpose of organizations. And think about it, when you think about organization and there is a human factors and purpose is really considered, and we gotta think about human factors and we gotta think about effective kind of authority, power, and we gotta think about effectiveness, systematic and positive coordinated kind of working together, right? And then relationships between the various factors. And identifying the groups and work, nature of work and group work, and duties and responsibilities. And then there is, understanding is a little bit different, but emphasis is a little different, but still we need all things, all components when you define organizations. And when you think about school defining as organization, and then we gotta identify what we really work, by our work, and then why is the grouping work. Maybe you are in primary school, elementary school, and then there is really emphasize common core in math, science, and English and science, and then think about how they do. Maybe social studies there, and how can identify roles, work, nature of the work, and what's the duty. Everyday duties, once a week, once a month, each semester, and open house here, and maybe what's a kind of special festival with and PTA meetings, and then there's a lot of things. And teaching on the top, right? And there's authorities there, school principals, and some is a kind of representative of teachers, teachers association, and then like other stuff. And district is there, just authoritative and it's effective. And then there is organization is like they work together and provide the best channel for the effective and systematic and positive and coordinated application of that is so. How can we do that? And how can we teach efficiently, effectively, and systematically work together? And what about our attitude toward the teachers and toward the students and toward kind of schools? How can you all coordinate together one subject with the same grade with other teachers? And maybe we can coordinate with other subjects since they are different. When you teach, and then can you consider their environment, student environment, school environment? How can we maximize our teaching, education for students like this, and considering the relationship between their barriers, their factors, and all that we need, if we think the school organizations. And I hope that you guys, and if you have time, and then try to think about define the school as an organization. How can you define? And it's a sentence. Maybe that's a whole, if you want to do it. And there is kind of it's really famous as the theory of the organization is a 5-factor disciplines of a learning organization is a Senji model, and there is a learning organization is here, and then there's a 5 factors here. System thinking, and then personal mastery skills, and then as a mental models, and the team learning, and then shared vision. There's 5 factors, right? And Sanji's. So here is what is the system thinking. So we already talk about the system thinking. The dialogue is really important element to all the rest of the other fact together and practice. And without this system thinking, maybe it's easy to be as aggregate, right? Aggregate thinking individually, and then they have their own role. That's it. But system thinking is about putting all together, right? And so what is personal mastery is that people must regard their life and their work, such as an artist regard the work of the art. And then you gotta just think about artists. I'm very interested in art, but I'm not an artist. I really interesting. When artists are drawing something, I just wonder what they are thinking about. And maybe I watch the kind of drawing and YouTube and Facebook, and then they starting with the random. I don't know. I don't. Yeah, I don't even know in the beginning what they are doing, and maybe in the video clip is like 3 minutes, like 5 minutes, and then watching and coming out clear and clear, and then at the end it's wow, it's amazing. That's why I really wonder what they are thinking about, how they are amazing. And I really wonder though. I'm not an artist, and then I don't know how to express my ideas and imagination on the canvas. Just think about how they master, and from each small things, at the end it's through the whole pictures, right? And personal mastery skills. And what about the mental models? Mental models deeply ingrained assumptions and mental image that influence how to understand and word, and then how take actions. That's kind of a worldview. People have their own mental models. In other words, a worldview. How you understand the world and evaluate, and based on your evaluation, how you values and how you behave, act. That's what we need. We need mental, especially. And what about shared visions? And shared vision is like this. Shared vision, building the shared vision, and then what are you dreaming and what do you want to achieve? There it is. And here, and then what about team learning? Team members participate in the learning environment, and they kind of they holding up their own assumption, and then listen and how to work together. There is a whole factor component is a learning organization, specifically there's a thinking system, is how can you organize, and then mental model, and then what is the basic of our assumptions to understand the world, and then and behave. We gotta know this one. And maybe if you are Christians, and Christian have their own assumption and their value system, Christian worldview. If you are non-Christian, and if you are atheist, then they have their own natural worldview. So their own natural worldview is, and it's nothing, it's not visible, right? It's nothing. Only some materialistic is what works. After that is not, that's it. Like this. And different worldview, right? Even though, if you have your own religion, and so what's Buddhism and Islam and Hinduism and Christianity has a different worldview, understanding different, world different. The mental models, they need their own worldview. And then education there's a clear philosophy. How do you think about education? Right? Usually, yes, pragmatism is one of the philosophy of education. Right? There's a lot of philosophies is there. Maybe we will take the theory and philosophy of education, and then you can see the different philosophy on education and theories. There's theories there, and philosophy is there, and then there's theories coming out and specific and teach based on that one. You develop the methodology and teach based on that one. And they developed their own mental imaging based on their learning. And team learning, okay? Just holding yours and then what? Suspend your own assumption and then how to work together for the common goals. That's what we need. And then what about shared vision? And then we have a shared vision, goal. How can we achieve? Not all this one, and no, not my own. This is organization and groups, right? That's right. That is one of your very famous models for the learning organizations. And if you read kind of schools, and there is a specific usually and about, and then they really know their voice, what they have, what based upon, and what are they pursuing, what are their goals, like this. Maybe similar, but they have their own things. If you go to the Christian schools, and depends on the denomination. I know basic their basic doctrine may be different. If you go to churches, church organization is different. Every church may be same denomination, but depends on the denomination, and then their doctrine is different. But for the one thing, how can you work together? Team learning. How can we work together? Right? That is a really important thing, though. When you are work at school, maybe at church, and then when based on you gotta teach, and then how can we do that? Think about that one. That's the basic foundation of it. Here is, and then some question is there, and then how can we understand the school as a learning organization? And Brent, he gave us a question, and if you answered this question, and maybe you can start the school as a learning organizations. It's not a business organizations, but and some private school is like a learning organization at the same time, and business organizations, right? I don't want to say that, but still, just it's true. And okay, let's just see that. Does school have an incentive structure that encourages adaptive behavior? Organization, after you have to practice something, right? And then what's the incentive structure encouraging the people to be work hard and more creative to deliver the work for that one. That is the job. And make a better outcome, and maybe there's an incentive structure. Maybe there reward students who achieve something, right? Maybe teachers, they maybe recognize the teacher's work, and but the teacher of the month, and one of the teacher we can choose and encourage, so there's some incentive like this, right? And if you say yes, and then does the school have a challenging but achievable goal? I know it's challenging, it seems hard and impossible, but he said what? It's achievable goal is there. I don't know whether you guys have goals, and then I don't get involved in church, school administrators, and then but if you, I I used to serve at church, and then I went to the board meeting, and then we have our own goals. And then we evaluate one by one every year, and then try to focus on one topic, take out, and kind of we have evaluate the whole goals and every year, and then reach the weakest one, and then we choose and what's a good one, and then try to focus on the weakest one, and then we plan it and work with the pastors and like this, and then it's a really good thing though. It's too abstract, and there's a lot of churches that's really abstract. Just some church go and like love God and missions, do missions, and like this, and but there is no specific visible and things. I know how much you wanna do it and how you wanna do it, and then I know there is a specific, but maybe if you put a 2-3 word more, little bit sentence, and then wow, so like a missional communities church, or it's a missional community church, and worshiping church. No, every church is worshiping church. Why worshiping God? If you have, there is a specific goal under that one, we gotta know that what is achievable, right? There is a school too, and if you have standardized test is 700, maybe 70, so 80%, 60% of the school students are kind of in 70% time, and maybe next year is 70% students are in the 70% percentile like this, and then there's a specific achievable goal, and then that means that it shows guidance how much and how we need to work, and then here can member of the school organization accurately identify the school's stage of development, and each school have goals, and then what stage are we are in? It's the first stage, second stage, third stage, fifth stage, and then we gotta, when you lay out the plan of the goal, and we gotta know that it's a specific stage, and then teachers should agree, and they need to identify, right? There are questions. And does the school gather, process, and act on information in ways best suited to the school's goal? Is the best. And how can we get the information? How can we process? How can we act on the information? Because school culture is really important. Organization culture is really important, and some organizations are really informal, some organizations are really formal. And sometimes someone's coming in, and then they don't understand the words of organization culture is kind of disturbing the whole working environment. My daughters went through, and kind of there is a working balance is kind of disturbed, and then working is delayed, and then finally kind of the issues came out and then brought out, and then they try to solve, right? Like this, and we gotta know that one, the process, how school can do it, and then maybe and school cannot do it, and how can we do it? And we can hire outside, and then maybe that's with the agreement, and we can hire like this. And also, school have institutional knowledge base and process for the creative new idea. They have any institutional knowledge base, and what the process for the creative new idea, any base is there. If you don't, and then maybe there is some also kind of meeting is there, it's kind of a group is there, and they named it and kind of maybe two people each group and staff and the teachers and students and maybe principal, and they have a think tank like that, and then maybe they can do something, right? And the school exchange information frequently with relevant external resources. We gotta be realistic though. Sometimes it's really abstract, sometimes only we see the inside, but we gotta see the open to ourselves to outside. We gotta know what's going on, and then that's why we could make a real life or realistic. And you just focus on the inside, and sometimes really it's outdated, sometimes really it's not feasible. Even though you think that it's really, this is really feasible for school, but if you don't know the other outside, when you see it and oh no, it doesn't work. It's so outdated and you don't know what's going on out the world, right? That one is, it's a really important thing in any organization. So sometimes do you know how much studies going on and publish, and I know it's not all about it, but still we can get a lot of insight and we can learn what's going on outside, right? Even though we work the same field, and then we can learn from others. That's why we can get a lot of insight from outside. And what about, and school does, school does get a feedback its own activity and service. Shoot, they need. And the school continues to review and refine its process. Organization does. And the school have a support organizational cultures. It's really important. It's a school is an open system sensitive to external environment, including social and political and economic conditions, because always we are influenced by them, right? We gotta know them. If you say something about this one, and then that's a kind of one of the ways that we can see ourselves, whether school, we understand the school as a learning organizations, right? Not just institution. And here is if you see the organization, there is the internal process of organization versus internal process organization. Internal process is organizations, we gotta make a decision, right? Sometimes budget, sometimes and programs, and we can stop, we can develop new things, and yearly budget, and other standards and rules and like this, and you gotta, there's some making decision processes there, and then sometimes internal organizational leadership, who is leading the whole organizations. Leader is there, director is there, and president is there, vice president is there, and executive director is there, and there is leadership is there internally, right? And then they represent for the organization, and the communication is there. We gotta communicate each other. Each department is there, and teachers association and school association, parent association and children student association and district and state and communities. We gotta communicate. There's a special program directors there, right? And there's offices there. Communication. What about changes? we want to make better things. We want to move on, and so we got to change. That is we say the internal progress of organizations. We're gonna go over one by one, right? It's really important. And there is other characteristics of organization. There's a power hierarchy is there, structure is there, right? And there's a culture, organization culture is there. It's really important. And there's a size and structures and complexities there. How big the organization and what kind of structures and physical structure and what's the organizational structure have. And there's organization health and effectiveness there. And then that one is, we're not gonna go over this one and then based on the school and then maybe small school and then maybe international schools and then maybe we can, that's evaluation though. Based on the evaluation and then we can see that it's a healthy organization, right? They're kind of, whereas the system is really effective and that evaluation. And maybe schools and we gotta evaluate teachers, right? Kind of evaluate students as a teachers and we gotta evaluate the what? And the administrator. So we're gonna talk about the evaluation though. So there is a lot of metaphor about the organizations and how they understand the organization, and then there is machine and organism and brain and culture and political system and psychic prison and flux and transformation and instrumental domination and but our book is showing three things, and the three machine is organization is a machine of the interlocking part. So look at this and machine and then like engine we already talked about and interlocking, right? It's not just a separate part, and we cannot call the engine. If you have a separate and there is what is this? Oh, part of some machine. But if you put all together and then see, then we could this is the engine part like this. And that's a machine metaphor is really focused on the what? And rules and regulation is a bureaucratic organization. So that's how is a organization runs. There's rules, follow the rules, and then there's a regulations there, right? And then keep going and going and going. And also, it's a really, that machine metaphor is a focus on the kind of routinization and routine going and going, and there's a efficiency and the machine is coming and going, and without out of order and keep going, and there's a reliability is there and predictability is there, like simple systems, right? We already talked about. And it's not a maximize efficiency, but in the systems there is efficiencies there. That is one of the example of organizations. And then what about organisms? So organism is a living living system like a human being or other living and just think about how we are surviving in the organism as an organism, how they survive new environment and new context, and right? How can support themselves, how work with others, and how work with, how escape from, like this. And this organism is kind of really environmental adaptation. So even though social is, society is changing and everything is changing, how can we adapt for education? And then we can have effective education like this. And then that is, I mean, in terms of education, it's organizations like that. Environmental adoption, and then so there is a different species of organizations, right? Of course, and I don't know whether you guys go to Amazon, and then even though they sell the different same product, and then they different types, models, and different companies and different price like this. A lot of different organization, and maybe there's a small organization, it's a big organization, the organization is there, and then they compete each other. Nowadays there is we can say small business mark is there. And brain is what is the organization is a learning system, how brain work together, right? And here really the organization is like this. Say that the information process in decision making and communications. And do you know how our brain is process? That's organizations, how they process information and then how work together. And then that is really metaphors about and knowledge management and capacity for the learning. But I want to introduce one more thing. So this one is a culture. Organization is a culture. There's a social interaction and shared meaning in organizational behavior. So people really want something achieved in organization is meaningful in their life, which is really important things. I know they need to make money for their living, but still not it's all about it. And if they have right culture to belong, and then they have they can find meaningfulness in their life. Other than that, sometimes if you make a lot of money in organization and in some if you do a lot of things to achieve an organization but still if you find a meaning and then it's meaningless, right? And then you can lead organizations. So this organization values, ideas, beliefs, norms, and rituals like Christian organization, churches, and then mission agency organizations like this. And then there's a lot of but they have their own characteristics and their own have goals, and then depends on. But there's a lot of explain metaphor about organization, but. Think about as a school, if you see the school as an organization, what kind of metaphor is really fitting to school? Maybe eclectic, right? And maybe you can, so culture is really important though. What values are you going to teach, right? But brain is kind of a learning process is really important. Maybe organism and the environment is really important. And then machine is like kind of efficiency, reliability, which are really important. Maybe we cannot describe any school as a kind of a specific metaphor like that, and but really eclectic, but still we can get all these together and we can describe schools, but I want you guys to think about how can we describe the school as organizations. And there is advantage and disadvantage when we approach systematic thinking, and then system thinking, and then I want to know that, and Jason Gordon, he shared about if we take the system thinking, and then there's many people, even though any system, any theory, any method not perfect, and there's a advantage and disadvantage here. There's advantage system approach advantage is assist in studying the function of complex organizations, right? And it's probabilistic rather than deterministic. We are going to talk about it, and it's been utilized as a base for the new kinds of organization like a project management organization. It's proven. It's possible to bring out the interrelationship balance function like planning, organizing, directing, and controlling. That is the benefit. And then what about the disadvantages? And approach is somehow very abstract and vague. Just think about, active, connected, interacted together, and sometimes, I already told you, it's hard to, if you describe system, and then sometimes it's hard to describe, right? Depends on we already talked about learning organization, and there was a Senju, right? And then depends on the mental learning, mental kind of worldview, and then we have different structures. And then that is kind of vague, and it can be difficult to apply to large and complex organizations. Maybe they have their own already, but just think about from the beginning, it's hard, right? Too many, and then too hard, maybe more complicated, complex and organizations, and it's not provide any tool and technique for managers. There is no specific method to information, and it's not a prescriptive management theory, but as it is not a specified tools and technique for the practice managers. There is no any specific manual to do that, not like a machine, right? And it does not address power, social inequality, and their cause. But it's real, right? It's real. We already taught, and then how was the inequality impact on the education. And it does not specify nature of the interaction and the interdependence like this. And I know that is it's kind of hard, but still, maybe even though it's not detailed, but we can give them kind of a guideline. We know the kind of disadvantage, but we can, even though we cannot explain the nature, but still, if there is a communication, I think so there is no problem. And there is we can always think about disadvantage when we think of school as a organization, and then but still we can work on the disadvantages. It's already came out, and that's all about today's lectures. And then I want to think as a school as an organization. So we are learning about aggregate thinking and analytical thinking versus system thinking. So we are emphasizing system thinking, and then what is the system characteristic of system thinking, and what kind of system thinking is out there. So a system is right, open, close, and simple and complex. And then we talk about what's component elements of the organizations, and then we talk about how can we diagnosis that we are thinking about school as organizations, and then there is SENGs. Before that we are talking about the SENGs, the models, right? Learning organizations, what we need, and then we are talking about and what's the advantage of the metaphors and right, and then organizations characteristic, internal characteristic, and and what is the other characteristic, and that we're gonna go over in the class, and then what are the basic metaphor of the organizations, and then I want you to think about how we describe the school as organization with metaphor, and then what about the last one is the advantage of the system systems, right? And that is basic our lecture today, and I hope that try to school. That's a basic approach, right? This class, and we try to think school as an organization and system thinking, right? I hope that so you guys have some idea about how we work on the rest of the schools, and then from next week we're gonna have the basic characteristic of organization one by one, and that we have as schools, right? All right, so I hope that you guys kind of understanding also school as organization, and then let's jump in each component one by one from next week. Have a good weekend.